welcome to the Washdown podcast. And tonight's guest is Battalion Chief Mark Little. And Mark has been in the fire service for 28 plus years. Chris and James and I sat down with him and we had a great conversation about leadership, mental health, physical health. I mean, we hit it all. So I hope you guys like this episode. I hope you get something out of it. We had a really great time making it. So here you go, the Washdown podcast with special guest Mark Little. Yeah. Lightning in a bottle. Let's see if you can do it twice, Chris.
No, I did it once.
You did it
once.
I think you actually did it twice.
Did I do it twice? I don't think third time's a charm.
You did it with James Kelly.
Yeah, it was the Mortal Kombat stuff.
And then you did it with Daniel, too, with Shergan.
I don't remember what we did on that one.
Well, because I think we were talking about working out or something. And then
are you sure Chris was part of that conversation?
Was I hitting on him?
Yeah. I think you were. I think it came off as... It kind of,
yeah. Creepy.
It was a little bit, yeah.
He liked it though.
Well, you know,
known him a long time. He enjoyed it because we were making fun of you when when you were right down as chief.
Yeah,
you had your lean going.
Yeah,
your chief lean, and then you put on the white shirt that you found with the white pants, the white shoes, but black socks and underwear.
Yeah,
which is weird. I still don't get that. It's weird,
bro. I mean. You have to complete the ensemble. Did you have
clean white underwear?
I don't have any white underwear.
That are clean.
Is that because they're not clean?
No, I don't have them.
Do we need to teach you how to do laundry?
No, I stopped wearing white underwear whenever I was like 12.
You stopped wearing underwear. That's what you were going with, but then you had to correct yourself. So you don't wear underwear anymore.
Right. Gotta let it breathe, baby.
Ugh. Like Tom Petty said, I'm free balling. Oh, wait, that's not what it was.
No, not quite the accurate lyrics, but, A+ for effort.
I like how he just breaks down on himself. Pretty sure Tom Petty wrote a song about that, too. Nothing?
Nothing.
The breakdown? You guys suck. Learn music.
Really?
Do you even go here?
Do you lift, bro? I mean, really. Speaking of that, didn't we have a conversation about how you wanted to,
Yeah, you're supposed to be in control of that, and you haven't sent me shit.
You haven't asked me for shit.
Yeah, I did. That's why I sent you that text.
Yeah. And then you were like, yeah, we'll document it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool.
And then that was it. Radio silence.
No, it was never, hey, let's start. Why do I got to be the one? So
motivation.
That leads us into the conversation.
You're supposed to be motivating people.
Personal accountability.
No.
You can lead a horse to water.
You got to motivate
You can't make him drink.
You got to motivate people.
So, Mark, how's your day been?
Yeah, let's get on to the important topic. We can air these grievances later at some point.
Look, if you want it, you got to go after it.
Say that again louder into the microphone.
If you want it, you got to go after it.
Still louder.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You're annoying.
Now that I agree with.
I heard that.
Here's the thing. I don't want to go through another episode to where we get done with the episode and go, okay, cool, and I go to do the editing. And then every time that the guest, you in this case, opens your mouth, we can't hear anything that you're saying.
So even though I can hear it here, it may not come through.
Right. You need to be able to hear it at a decent volume in your headphones. And like you can tell as you moving back, it'll kind of go away and then boom, you got it. So
like I said, if you want it, you got to go after it.
There you go. See? He's on team personal accountability.
No. You need motivation. I have 0 right now.
I can't give you motivation, man.
That has to come from within, or it will.
No, you got to have external forces too. Your job as a leader to help motivate your team to get better.
No, your job as a leader is to help your individuals find reasons to motivate themselves.
I like that.
Wrong. That's part of it. You got to be the motivational force as well.
No,
you got to hit every single aspect to get your team to do what you want.
If you want to create codependency.
If you want me to be the wind in your sail, you've got to have a sail.
Lawyered.
Boom.
And the sales
Drop the mic.
pushing.
Thanks for coming on the Washdown podcast.
That's it. But the wind is the motivation. The sail's up, but there's no motivation pushing.
There's
out
no
of the
sail up.
There's no sail.
Yeah, that was the text. I'm in. Let's do this.
Oh my God. That's the exact equivalent of a woman going, I'm not going to tell you why I'm mad at you.
You're just supposed to know what I want to eat tonight.
Exactly.
See, Rachel's out of town, so she was texting me, hey, you got to anoint Jeremy for me because I'm not there. It's like, on it.
You're like, permission to do what I do anyway? Great. Thanks. Well, Mark, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Back to business.
Back to business. And do an end around that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here, and then we'll get into it.
So a little bit about myself. I'm married, got a couple kids, got a couple grandkids, a third one on the way. I'm very excited about that. The amount of joy that grandkids bring a papa is unlike anything you'll ever experience until you become a grandfather. Worked for a fire department for over 28 years. Was an EMT before that. And about 8 or 9 years ago, got a paramedic license.
Idiot.
Actually, I'm actually very glad that I did that. There's been a lot of things that has benefited me personally, my family, the community, my department, the people I work with, I think. What else?
How has it benefited said peoples?
So when they promoted me to a battalion chief, they put me in charge of a district that had paramedics in it. Mm-hmm. They come to me asking questions, and it was like they were speaking Japanese to me. The department said, hey, any employees want to go through medic school, we'll pay your way. And I said, sign me up. And it was actually something I wanted to do even before I thought about being a fireman. So that worked out really, really well. And then once I've got that knowledge, those skills, when those medics were coming and asking me questions, needing some help, either on scenes or follow-up or whatever, I then understood what they were asking. And I could be of assistance there, be assistance on scenes. That was the first kind of traction, the benefit that I started seeing. It's made me some money over time. Picked up a side job with a small department outside of the metro. Got a couple of hurricane deployments, FEMA contracts for that, so made some good money doing that. Going out to the East Coast, which that's fun, riding in an ambulance all the way out east, by the way.
At 60 miles an hour.
Oh, I can only imagine.
No,
the fun that is
those
had.
were not governed. So
Oh, that's not too bad then.
those were not governed.
Oh, what is that? Traffic jam? Lights and sirens.
And something that I would like to touch on and maybe expound on a little bit is the aspect of leadership, with being able to see that need was there of, hey, I've got people that I'm directly responsible for that have questions that I don't have answers for.
Well, and Jeremy, I'll even go one further. On top of the leadership, I think, having worked under him and seen the way he does it, his servant leadership that comes with it, especially in a time when the nation is short on medics, his willingness and ability to help out staffing and help those under him not get burnt out has been second to none on this job.
I appreciate that. And I like a word you just used there, the servant leadership. and that is exactly how I was taught by a battalion chief that I worked for years ago. This battalion chief I drove for 4 or 5 years said it's leadership through servitude. And I could see how effective that style of leadership was with the district. And there hasn't been a day go by since I've been a battalion chief that hasn't been on my mind. And as our job moved into the ALS providing as a piece of what we do in the community, I decided I can help do that. I can help these people that are trying to provide those services, help our citizens, help the department, just trying to be a leading edge on that movement. I can, and still am. It's still a fight.
Yeah.
It's still a fight. We're coming up on 13 years into it, and it's still a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it's gotten better.
It
than
has.
we were, but we're not taking full steps forward.
Right.
And I think that's nationwide.
Right.
Mark, what were some of the first things you saw as a battalion chief adapting that style of leadership? What were some of the first things you began to recognize within your district of morale improving or positivity amongst the people you supervised?
I've had numerous of our deputy chiefs tell me, Mark, your district is the lowest frequency of issues. And so I would say as my focus on serving the people in my district as a priority number one, that had a nice side effect, benefit, if you will, that they then wanted in turn to take care of me, which then helps the department because they adhere to policies and things more readily, and fewer issues come up. And I'm concerned about that, of course, but that's not my primary focus. My primary focus is the personnel assigned to me, that they go home every day, that they have what they need to do the job that we're asking them to do. Concern for the citizens in the district on the calls we're going on, and the department is a second. The policies are there to help us figure out how to get from point A to point B on a call and mitigate these emergencies, these hazards. But the human resource, I think that's the most valuable. It's actually invaluable.
Right.
The most important resource that a fire department has, and it has to be priority one, and it has been day in, day out.
Yeah. Take care of your employees take care of you, company, and your customers.
It works. It
Yeah.
does work.
Yes.
Something I agree with. to be honest
Yeah.
with you. And I've seen the same thing that you have as far as going from that role of being the person who does everything to that. I guess we'd be mid managers.
Oh yeah,
I got promoted too.
You're a mid-level manager,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, but
You're what's his name from Office Space. You're worried about TPS reports now.
TPS reports. Hate
Back to
TPS
the
reports.
cubicle.
Yeah, I just want to play Tetris and eat Cheetos, man. That's it. But have work being on the rigs that are ALS and have ambulances attached to them, and being able to help with a 12-lead interpretation. They look at it. You let them do their job, but then, hey, what do you see? Do you see anything? It's another level that you can add to helping that citizen.
Oh, and I've even utilized it when our EMS supervisors are out, I've been like, hey, give me the battalion chief in my district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually you show up and I'm like, hey, I got a clusterfuck, but here's what's going on.
And I'm always glad when you call me on those. Always was. Always
But
was.
I think going to medic school definitely broadened the scope of how and the picture of what you see.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Immensely.
Yeah.
Immensely, I
Because
think.
I remember the day we started to the day we graduated, because you and I went to medic school together, there was a huge change in all of us and how we saw things and how we approached it. And even in the field. And our captain at the time was in the same class.
Yeah.
And even things there changed. And it was just, I think it got better.
Agreed.
It made us better firefighters overall.
It's made us a better department, too. I was just talking with one of my colleagues earlier today how it's not uncommon today to have 3, maybe 4 medics on scene of a cardiac arrest or something. And when we started this, we were lucky to scrape together 1.
Yeah.
So we've definitely made some strides, some improvements. We're definitely going the right direction. We've got more to go.
It used to be you'd have the one medic, and there might have been, so you had a medic and an EMT on the ambulance, and maybe 4 firefighters, because we still had 3-person pumpers at the time. So maybe 2 EMTs out of the 3, because there's still guys on the job that weren't required to be EMTs.
And there's only a couple of those left.
Yeah, there's only a few left, but look, like you said, look at it now. You got 4 medics,
Right.
which I've never ran into an issue with having multiple medics.
Yep.
We all know who's leading the code, but we're able to put input in, and they can do what they want with it because they're in charge of it. They're running it.
You remember running the ACLS practice codes, and you're the lead medic, and you've got multiple medics that you can assign various tasks and roles to. And I, thinking in terms of our home department, I always thought, that'll never happen. And what are we going to have? 3 or 4 medics on scene to be able to delegate this and that and this and that. And
now here we are.
And now here we are. It's exactly right.
And I think it makes that code run that much smoother.
It really does.
Or the traumatic injury or the shooting stat, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you have that multiple victims of a car accident, and it's no more you hopping around.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you take that one, you take that one, I got this one.
And I'll tell you you mentioned traumatic injury. I was happened to be heading back into the office after lunch a few weeks ago, and I jumped on a call that started out as a traumatic injury, and they upgraded it to an entrapment, and it was the 3 I-beams on the worker. And I'm telling you, having a battalion chief first on scene who is also a medic, I believe, was instrumental in shaping how that scene was managed and how the rescue effort went. I actually had a medical team in place prior to a rescue team, and we had a quick plan, of what was going to be provided for this patient. And then as the rescues rolled in, we started to develop how are we going to move these 3 I-beams? And nothing was done until I got a thumbs up from medical and from rescue boss. And those 2 things, I would say, there's as much special technical skill in each one of those roles that's exceedingly, the 2 couldn't be further apart,
But you're able to bridge that gap because you speak both languages.
Exactly.
And I think we need more of that.
Right.
To where, we do one thing here on the fire scene, but if I'm working as a medic, I got to do this. But I know what they're doing over there. And I'm not saying that not everybody can do that. Most of our members can.
Right.
And I think that's nationwide. But there are those that there's no crossover, and they don't understand, and there's the infighting.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, hang on now. I got to do this. You do this. But this is why we're doing it. And
well, that kind of goes back to the whole leadership, knowing what's going on at the ground level, and having somebody who is still involved in it, doing it on a daily basis and stays up on it, why that's so important. Once you've started to ascend the ladder, of our career, you have to still stay in touch with what's going on down here. Because if you don't, then you get into a position where you're starting to make policy and doing all these things where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's not practical for the field.
Yeah. You start putting handcuffs on them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the opposite on that one. I knew the folks that were in charge of medical care for that guy, and I knew the folks that were in charge of the technical rescue aspect. And I trusted both teams. I knew their capabilities, I knew their skills, and it was really easy to let them focus on their specific tasks, and I didn't have to focus on the little details. It let me focus on the big picture.
You think of how far EMS has come in your career from when you started to today.
Yeah. A lot.
I mean, a lot's changed.
A lot.
A lot's changed in our career.
Mark, I want to ask you this, and it's kind of an in-depth question.
Great.
Everybody take a nap.
Yeah.
Moran will be done in about 20 minutes.
Cliff Note version, man. Cliff Note version.
Yeah. Clearly, public service in general in the country is kind of a staffing crisis, morale crisis, leadership crisis. Your style of leadership is proven time in and time out quite effective. And it's what, kind of what we can do to get by for the time being. But especially now that you've transitioned out of the field and into an office role, how have you kind of maintained, I guess it's a two-part question. How do you teach other leaders to adapt your style? Where did we lose that for those that promoted, and how are you trying to still maintain it being removed from the field now?
So as far as trying to share the management style, I've had numerous other personnel come to me and ask, what works for you? How are you seemingly so effective at what you're doing? And I've shared where I got that from, watching that battalion chief that I drove years ago. I mean, really, we're going back 20 years when I started driving at 105. And sharing what I learned from there over those 5 years, and then over the last 10 years, what I've seen work for myself, and reminding up and coming officers, you got to put ego aside. It's about putting your members' priorities even above your own. Putting yourself last.
But, I mean, it's me first.
Nope.
That's how the world works,
Nope.
right?
It takes that is a human's natural tendency. Look after self. You've got to be able to overcome that and put that away. And it can't be just lip service. It has to be genuine. You guys have all seen, I imagine you've all seen so-called leaders that want to give you the appearance of trying to look out for you, but you see right through it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It will throw you under the bus so fast.
Your BS detector goes off every time.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the other part of your question, James?
No, now that you've been out of the field, like technically kind of out of the field more to an office role, how have you transitioned your style of leadership to that role?
So I don't have so many direct employees now, but I can be in touch with literally anybody in the job, the BLS ambulance portion, the FTO training stuff. Literally, I can work with anybody in any one of the districts. But I think I can keep in touch and keep relevant, if I want to say that word right, by continuing to pick up field shifts. Like during the week, I don't. Weekends, I try to pick up shifts, and that keeps me sharp, and it keeps me relevant, I think. I think the field crews see that I'm still participating in that fight in the trenches, if you want to use that analogy.
Yeah. Which, that goes right back to what I said about staying in touch with what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, at the quote unquote ground level,
Right.
you know, and I think it's so important for, information flows two ways, or should flow two ways in any healthy organization. It's from the top down and from the bottom up.
Right.
And if the top doesn't know what the bottom's doing and the bottom doesn't know what the top doing, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
But I think that goes back to the servant leadership style. And when you're up towards the top, not taking offense to what the bottom is saying. Because I've seen that too, where you're asked for an opinion and you give it and they don't like it, and now...
Well, that's the ego.
I was just going to say that.
And you get,
yeah,
I do
exactly
agree
right.
with the ego. It's not, you're not being attacked because you're at the top. It's this is what's going on. This is what we want changed. But you are at the top where you can make that change. Those of us down here don't have that power. But you're not going to know it unless you hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to take part in those conversations to be able to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Got to take the collar pins off. You do.
Yeah.
I think that's a sign of a great leader. Somebody come in and take the pins off, take the different colored shirt off, and be like, all right, let me hear it.
Yeah. I mean, see, how often have any of you seen me in the white shirt with the bugles?
Not often.
Almost never. It's just,
Yeah.
I put it on for the special events, the promotions, the funerals,
When you have to.
when I have to.
Even, I'll tell you, even the gray shirt, the light gray, you hardly even wore that.
Nah, sure I did.
He was always in uniform.
Always in uniform.
Come on.
Loud and clear.
When we go out, but he was always working out. He was always working out.
Well, I
Because
did do that. I
know?
had my own sail up.
That's right. Anyway. Fuck you guys. My wife likes me the way that I am. Suck it.
And you should be thankful.
I am.
Suck it in. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
I just wish she'd quit cooking so good. It'd be a lot easier to lose weight if she was a shitty cook. Yeah, I'll take thirds. It was delicious. It's not my
Dude.
fault.
So really? So now nothing's your
Yeah.
fault.
You can't have leftovers.
You just blame everybody else for your problems.
Yeah, this is the United States, man.
Yeah.
Have you been listening to nothing about his leadership techniques?
Nothing.
Dude, so
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
let's-
Was leadership?
let's rewind just a second. So the guy that I had on last night, Matt Dumyansik, he's a police chaplain out in California. And he posted this picture on Instagram. And it was this kind of jacked, like National Guard dude carrying this woman in his arms, and she had a baby. Well, her husband, and it was obviously her husband, was walking in front of them carrying a little backpack and some shoes through these floodwaters. And like the tagline on it was, start your training now. It's never too late, blah, blah, blah. Don't be that guy. And I'm like, that is a perfect analogy of one, like just our society and culture in general, but also of how we view, to kind of bring it to the mental health aspect of the fire department, fire service. It's exactly how we view it. Somebody else is going to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take a little bit of responsibility for yourself. Just like your physical fitness, you got to take some responsibility for yourself. Be the own wind in your sails, Chris.
Can I jump on this bandwagon here, or do I still need to wait a little while?
You can jump on the bandwagon, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to agree with you. Yeah, Chris. We've all done it.
Yeah, Chris.
Mark, how much are you down now?
April 1st, 2018, I stepped on the scale, and I thought my scale was playing April Fool's trick on me. It said 315. The other day, it said 218.
Nice.
Mine in October was 350. Today it was 282.
Attaboy.
I just had to drop my sail, Mark. I just had to drop my sail.
Yep. It's all up to you.
Dude, and I'm going to kind of like get on a little bit of a soapbox.
Are we
here.
about to tear into Chris instead of me for once?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Don't worry, your turn will come.
Oh, fuck
Everybody's had a turn so far. You're not going to be exempt.
Well, hang on, let me get ready. Okay.
So I was. You done?
Hold on, I just took his mic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, did you ever hear the old story of the captain having an old axe handle on his side and he reach across the doghouse to duke the
The driver?
on
I
the
just
head?
heard that story the other day.
Yeah, I needed one of those right now.
That would have been awesome. That's if I was a better editor, would CGI that shit in.
There you go.
No, dude, like I was having the conversation earlier with Josh about like the physical fitness and like standards and things like that about, you know, we come on the job and we have this physical standard that we have to meet, you know, and it's not a big standard by any means. I mean, it's a little bit difficult. CPAT's not easy, but it's also not.
It's not difficult.
Yeah, it's not buds training. You know, it's 10 minutes out of your life that is not that hard. But then a lot of us get to this point where, you know, through the course of your career, whether it be just due to sheer laziness or apathy or injury or whatever, where we
Or unhealthy coping mechanisms.
That's a good one. We get to the point where we're extremely out of shape. And so what does that lead to? It leads to more injuries. It leads to loss in job performance. Now, and not to be overly dramatic, but you could get yourself or somebody else killed.
Yep.
Because you're a fat ass and you can't do the job physically. But you won't admit that to yourself until at what point? And you have to
for
make
me,
a
that
change.
point was that April Fool's morning on that scale. And I said, you're done today. You're starting now. It's over.
I think mine
And
was
I'm still fighting.
mine was sitting right where Chris is. I don't know, a month and a half ago when I think you chewed into me pretty good after we turned off the camera.
Probably. You'd have to be more specific. That's happened more than once.
One of those times.
Sounds so familiar.
So,
I just ignore 90% of what he says.
So I kind of want to get into this with you, your weight loss journey and stuff. Cause I mean, I remember vaguely you being really heavy, but I also remember mostly of just every time I would see you.
I was bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, no, you were dropping weight,
on the other side.
on the
yeah.
other side of it.
Yeah.
So like, obviously, okay, that was like the tipping point, but what did you do? Like you said, okay, you're done. I'm losing weight. This is enough's enough. And you mentioned eating being an unhealthy coping skill. So walk us through your process, man. I mean, obviously it wasn't you just joined a CrossFit gym and
No. It was, most importantly, it was a mindset. And standing on that scale that April 1st morning, it flipped the switch. That was too much. Now, I knew it was coming because when you get there, you're not stepping on a scale every morning. You might step on it once every several months. But I knew clothes weren't fitting. I was getting more and more out of breath just doing mundane nothings. So I knew it was coming. In the back of my head, it was, some point in the future. But that morning, that was the switch. And I've never defaulted on that decision. Because when I say I'm going to do something, I'm doing it. And then from that point, it's really calories in versus calories out. It didn't, none of the stomach surgeries of whatever variety. It was I've got to start burning more calories than I'm eating. And along the way, come to find out, cortisol was a huge problem. And that opens up a discussion of the sleep deprivation. For me, I believe the sleep deprivation from the calls overnight, busy station, and just all piling up. my cortisol was 2.5 times the high end of the normal limit. And they thought I had a little microadenoma in my pituitary causing this. So they actually went in, cut out half of my pituitary gland thinking they'd pull this, and that didn't change anything. I went back to work after recovering, and my cortisol just went right back up to where it was before. And while being off with COVID for a couple of periods of time, I noticed my weight was going down a lot easier. I wasn't having to fight it. And I started putting 2 and 2 together about the sleep. And based off of that, oh, and by the way, the endocrinologist here in town and 2 at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota had no clue. They said, yeah, your cortisol is high, but we don't know why. You are a mystery. You talk about, so, I mean, I went to the Mayo Clinic expecting to meet Dr. House. You know, we're going to find the most obscure thing here, and
it's not on Google Med.
Yeah, it's so they sent us back home with no answers. That was crushing. And so anyhow, I'd put 2 and 2 together about the sleep deprivation, and it was for that reason that I looked at getting this office job Monday through Friday, sleeping in my bed every night. And within 3 days, my body was starting to heal. My cortisol's been down within normal. Weight loss has been resuming again. And I feel much better.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, it's got everything working closer to normal than I have felt in a lot of years.
What is supremely surprising and disheartening is that they couldn't put that together, because there's a ton of studies out there specifically about, firefighters, cops,
right,
military personnel, and
I guess just shift work in general.
Yeah, the sleep deprivation, the relationship between elevated cortisol levels and all that stuff, and weight gain, and what it does to your body and what it makes you crave.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You wake up at 2 a.m. for that call. You go out. You come back.
Snack on your way back to your bunk.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
every
then,
call.
Yeah. And then so you wake up and you're tired. So what do? You have coffee with sugar in it, and you have some sweet like donut or cinnamon roll
Or all the donuts.
Or all the donut. Yeah. Because
not a huge donut guy.
Sugar, quite frankly, is addictive.
It is.
And so you start stacking all of that stuff. It's no surprise that firefighters and cops usually end up overweight.
Yep.
And I mean, you can look at it and it's for a different reason, but like, I'm sure we all know athletes who were like stud college athletes or whatever. And then you see them, or even professional players, and you see them 5 years after they retire or 6 years after they retire, and they have ballooned up ridiculously. Yeah. It's because they're keeping the same eating habits, not keeping the same level of physical activity. And then you stack on top of that sleep deprivation, and then you start doing a lot of bad eating habits.
Right.
I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster.
And the super frustrating thing about that elevated cortisol, that typical calorie math, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
They say, what is it? About a 3,300 calorie deficit, you can lose a pound of body fat. I could be over a week or a period of time, 20,000 calories in the negative, and I'm still adding body fat somehow. It was literally, in my mind, it felt like I am defying science. How is this possible? This was before we discovered the cortisol. And then when we found that, it's, oh, okay.
Well, it tricks your body into being in starvation mode. So everything you take in, it holds.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Mark, how was on March 31st, 2018, how was your mental health in regards to your weight? What shame, what guilt did you carry? Because that was a big one for me, looking back on it. The excuses, I guess you could say, out of guilt, out of shame, out of embarrassment, out of depression that I would make for my weight was almost overwhelming. And I think it was one of the biggest reasons I never did act on it before either.
And those are snowballing feelings and sensations. You know, if I feel ugly, I feel disgusting. There's no point in doing anything but eating it away. And it just snowballs on itself very, very quickly. And I would say up until the end of March, like you said, yeah, I was in that boat. And that number, when I stood on that scale on April 1st, that scared the hell out of me. Because I know it, we all know what's coming. You stay in a physical state like that, you got diabetes coming, you got heart disease coming, you got stroke coming. Life's going to be short.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff, once it happens, is not fixable.
No.
So it's permanent damage.
Yeah. And I said, that's it. And my resolve has never wavered on that. So where's your resolve, Chris?
Bringing it back around. I mean, he asked you a question.
Don't know.
That's a chief talking to you.
Talking to you.
Don't know.
Well, he doesn't have it.
No. I mean, I'll be with you every step of the way, man. If you want to do it, all you got to do is tell me.
I'll tell you this. The hardest part of it was for me was the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's always hard to start. That's the hardest part.
After the first 2 weeks, it was more routine, just kind of basic shit, and then I could easily add on to it.
But it's never easy.
No.
I think one of the hardest parts for me is doing the food right. That's always been the hardest part.
So I've laughed at myself several times because, what are we, 20, is that 5? I'm coming up on 5 years into this journey for health and weight loss. Somehow or other, I have created healthy cravings for food where I would much rather eat fresh vegetables, fruits, a piece of grilled chicken over a fast food hamburger any day. And they're like, where's the salad? And I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just say? I mean, no, really. I'm like, this is what I've become. Okay, where's the salad? But it's all about what you take in.
So, I'd say I like salad. Problem is, I like dressing too. And I don't like dry lettuce.
How's your portion control, Chris? That was the biggest one for me.
Portion control is hard too.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a glutton.
Me too. Us too.
Because I could eat a whole large pizza in one setting and not blink twice.
Been there.
I can't do that.
And now 2 pieces, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Now, like, give me a whole Tombstone pizza, I can eat that, but it's not as much bread.
Yeah.
Like flatbread
It's,
pizza, I can eat the whole thing.
Lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Is what it boils down to. Fad diets and all of these things, like, you have to do something that is sustainable for you. And, like a workout program, a meal plan that is sustainable, that will take you a long way. And like what Mark was saying, obviously, you're a shift worker.
Yeah,
So-
sleep
so
is definitely an issue. When I leave, I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
And then I know I still have to do schoolwork. And then I know I got to do this and that. And I'm just like, I just want to take a nap because I'm fucking tired. 'Cause
So-
I didn't get even if I don't run a call at night,
Oh yeah.
I don't sleep.
Yeah.
The thing that has worked for me, and I'm saying this works for me. It might not work for you, so whatever, you could try it if you don't like it, or you don't have to try it. Whatever. What works for me is I work out first thing in the morning, whether or not I am tired or whatever. And, you know, I listen to other podcasts and, you know, fitness experts or whatever, and they're like, oh no, if you're tired, then you go take a nap and then you go work out and blah, 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 blah. That doesn't work for me, because what happens is I'll come home, I'll take a nap, and then I don't work out.
Yeah.
What works for me is I have the same routine every day. Whenever I get home from the station, I come in, I say hello to my wife. We might talk for 20 minutes or so, but by 8:30, I'm down here working out. And I'll work out for 30 minutes or an hour or however long it is, but it's the very first thing that I do whenever I get home from work. And then after that, you know, I'm in the shower and done and ready to go for the rest of my day by 9:30, and I'm not tired anymore. Now in the afternoon, if I'm, you know, I need to take a little nap around 2 o'clock or whatever, I'll do that. But for the most part, I try to stay up until it's time to go to bed, so that way I can go to bed at 9:30 or 10 o'clock or whatever, and then get up the next morning at 6:30 and do it all over again.
Do it all again.
Yeah. And that way,
See, I still wake up early.
yeah.
And whether I nap or not, come bedtime, no. I'll lay there.
I will tell you
Or I
that
won't stay asleep.
I will tell you that adding in a workout, you will sleep better.
Yep.
See, even
I'll vouch
when
for that.
we were at the station doing that,
It
before medic school,
It takes time, Chris. It's not gonna.
It's
It's
not an off and on one day.
Yeah.
no, it was a good year. I mean, I lost a bunch of weight when we were there, and then went to medic school and gained it all back because
Yeah.
time. Then you didn't have
Yeah.
time to go to the gym.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
But even
It was
then, I
terrible.
still didn't sleep. I even as a kid playing sports and working out every day, and when I was in good shape, sleep has never been there for me.
I don't have.
Even as a baby,
Maybe
my
you
mom will
should-
attest to it. I did not sleep as a baby.
Well, that sounds like there's something wrong with you.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah, that's why I do the
Just-
job that I do.
Add it to the list.
Yeah. So, but
Shit, we're on a new page.
I mean, it's not an excuse. It's just that's the reality of
No,
what
what
I
I-
go through every day.
what
don't
I'm
sleep.
telling you is what works for me is having a routine, and then being able to do it first thing in the morning, and then I keep my days off, like go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. I keep it as much of a routine as possible to try to at least
Oh yeah, I still go to bed at the same
combat,
time. Get
try
up
to
same
at
time.
least combat that interruption of the circadian rhythm that we have at work. And I think it works well for me. Like I said, it might not work as well for you. It might not work for you at all.
Our dogs wake
but-
us up early no matter what, so we're good there.
But I would encourage you to try that. Or, figure out a routine that works for you, man. If it's you don't want to work out till the afternoon, and you can commit to doing that every day, then by all means, do that. But it's doing it consistently at the same time every day will lead to better benefits.
See, like right now, I'm waking up. I can feel my energy starting to climb.
That's because we're pounding your ass and you're in a corner.
No. Give a fuck about that.
Nobody puts baby
You
in a
think
corner.
I value your opinions? Come on. I do. But this is every night. It's the same thing. I start ramping up. And it's time to go to bed, and my wife starts snoring. The dogs are snoring. And I'm just there.
Damn, you just added your wife like that on a podcast.
Dude,
Damn.
everybody knows she snores. It's not a secret.
Yeah. I think
I
that
didn't know that.
I didn't know.
I think it gets mentioned at least once a podcast.
Her snoring is epic.
Can't be any worse than his.
My routine, one thing that I really found as a benefit that the day job, which I've never had a day job before taking this office spot this summer. I started working when I was 14. I was working long weekend nights, and I've been some manner of shift work since then. So what I started doing this summer after transferring over to the office, get up, hit my bike, live right over by the, not the Katy Trail, Rock Island Corridor Trail over there, and just wearing that thing out every morning. Get out those summer mornings, watch the sun come up while you're out exercising, and your day just starts so much better.
My sleep definitely was better when I was off for that year.
Mm-hmm. Have you had your cortisol checked? So
I'll go to the doctor. I don't like the doctor.
go ask about that.
All they do is give you bad news all the time.
Now,
It's like watching the news. It's depressing.
I will say, so don't allow them to just do a blood draw for cortisol, because it follows a circadian rhythm and it spikes in the morning to get you ramped up to basically attack your day, and then it tapers off through the day and tapers off to next to nothing so you can calm down, relax, and go to sleep at night. And so a single blood draw is only going to catch a snapshot where it's at right then. Unfortunately, you have to do a 24-hour urine collection to get an accurate read of your full daily cycle of cortisol. That's not fun, but that's how they measure. What's that?
You just pee in a cup every time you do it?
Yeah, well,
bring it in?
Yeah, you got a big jug. They're about like 2 liters, and I'd fill about 1.5 up in a 24-hour period.
That'd smell awesome.
Yeah, it ain't fun, but that's how you do it. And then
Hope the lid don't pop off.
yeah, telling you, fortunately, they're pretty secure.
That sounds like a city vehicle. Time to take it in.
Yeah,
I'm going to need this detailed.
It's not glamorous whatsoever, but
no. He's not wrong, though. It's something that you might want to check out, because even whenever we were working out consistently, you had a harder time, and part of that could be your body type.
There's some of it.
So, and then your diet never did really get dialed in.
I think that body type can often be used as a crutch.
You're not wrong on that.
Yeah.
You're not wrong on that.
Yeah. As I keep pushing for a little bit less weight, I've had people say, "Oh, what? Why aren't you happy with what?" No, I am happy with where I'm at. The improvements of where I'm at versus where I was is immense. But I want just a little bit more. Well, what if it's just your body type? Well, I'm not satisfied with that, because I want to get away. You know, there's that measurement. If your belly circumference is 40 inches or greater, your chances of stroke or heart attack or some sort of, clotting disorder is greatly increased. You get further away from that 40-inch girth, and your numbers get way better. And that's what I'm pushing for.
Mark, let me ask you this. When you were a battalion chief and you had
I'm still a battalion chief.
You were field battalion chief.
Boom.
Obviously, today's culture is a lot more politically correct than when you guys started. How do you hold men and women, different religions, everything accountable to themselves in something like that, while also not landing yourself up in a meeting?
The golden rule. I think if you can employ that in any relationship that you have with whomever it is, whatever demographic, golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to you. I'm going to treat you with respect regardless of what your demographics are. I'm going to treat you with respect regardless of what your demographics are, and just all the way across the table. And truthfully, if you're just not an a-hole, I mean, if you can genuinely pull that off, that answers the diversity, equity, and inclusion, because you're treating people with genuine respect, and then that begets respect.
Fair enough. Chris, do you know what that's like to not be an a-hole? I didn't know if you've adapted that into your leadership style yet.
He's silent. You guys smell that burning?
There may be some smoke coming out of those headphones. It's his turn. If you want to just go for it.
You know, I'm only an asshole to certain people, and that's because they didn't understand that they had to give respect to. And you reach a limit with people. They're like, all right, I'm fucking done. And then I'm going to treat them the way they treated me. And if you don't like the fact that I'm being an asshole to you, maybe you should look in the mirror.
So, but to do two right or two wrongs make a right.
Nope.
Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. There are those times. I'm sorry. People might not like it, but it's true.
So we're in a profession where we fight fire with water. I don't know if you've figured that out yet.
Oh, so you've never seen the wildland firefighters start?
We're not
another one?
wildland
don't do that.
firefighters.
It's still firefighting.
Yeah, but it's not what we do.
It doesn't matter.
And those
It's
guys have way
still-
more balls than us.
It's still
Here's what I'm not
applies.
doing is dropping into a fucking fire with a parachute and a shovel.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
not doing it.
But it still applies. Whether you want to believe it or not, it applies. You can be nice for so long, and eventually you're just like, all right, new tactic.
I think
Because not one tactic works on every person.
That's true. You do have to adjust, and you have to reach people how you can reach them. But I think you don't have to be an asshole about it.
I think there comes a point when you do.
No, I think there's a point where you need to be stern.
Okay, so I've been stern. Brant sees it as an asshole because he's sensitive.
You can't, his interpretation of how you act that's on him. That's on you. You can't control that.
No, hold on. I'm going to stop you here.
I've never been an asshole to anybody.
No. I'm going to stop you here, Chris, because define nice, right? You're going to sit here, and I'm playing devil's advocate. You'll sit here and say, I'm nice. Define nice. Is that your standard? Because, as we know through this podcast, the whole base of it is that people are literally fighting battles that we will never understand sometimes. And part of being a leader is taking the time and opening your mind to be able to not necessarily understand with it, but at least empathize with it.
So you want me to coddle people?
No. And I think there's somebody sitting right to your right that can tell you the difference between the two.
Yeah, you don't have to coddle.
That's kind of what he's saying, because my nice isn't good enough.
Be aware that any variety of problem could be troubling the employee to your left or to your right. You have no idea. And until you take the time to try to listen, sometimes you just don't understand, and you're not always going to know what's going on. They won't. Some folks will never tell, but it's still there, and it's still being an anchor and giving that person respect first.
I agree with that.
Can do a lot to pave a road towards a mutually beneficial end.
Yeah, I agree. And I've never come in screaming and yelling either. I'm not that guy. I never have been. Yeah, maybe in my 20s because I was stupid.
I remember a Chris that did not give a shit about me at one point.
Who doesn't care about you?
I remember that, Chris. I remember that road was not paved. I remember that respect was not given.
I don't remember that.
I sure do.
Maybe that's how you felt.
Oh,
I can't control that.
but can you?
No. How am I supposed to control your feelings?
Mm-hmm.
That's a you problem. If you felt disrespected, you should have said something and we could have had a conversation.
Hey, man, it's nothing personal. I don't really know you. But since you're kind of new and shit, if you just want to, you're going to be on the ambulance all day today. This is kind of how it is, man.
Yep.
It's nothing personal.
It wasn't personal. And I was wrong for that. And I know that. But that doesn't mean I was being an asshole.
It wasn't personal to you.
They have it to me all the time, too.
And
But I didn't cry about it.
I didn't cry about it either. But it goes back to when we're talking about leadership. And this is something, I mean, it's no, how many times, Jeremy, we had the conversation, the three of us on this show, just because we think it is not an emergency doesn't mean it's not the biggest emergency for the person that called for us today.
Right.
And that style and leadership can't be any different.
And if that had happened to you previously, how did that make you feel when you got stuck on an ambulance for 24?
It just was what it was.
Status quo, because that's always going to promote change, right?
Well, so
Seriously, it was what it was.
So let's hold on, because I think we're kind of getting.
We're having a healthy debate. I kind of like it. And Mark's our
Yeah.
moderator.
So you also have to remember the time frame that you're talking about. So ambulance was pretty new at the time, and we didn't have the understanding or the knowledge that we have now of how bad it was to be on there for 24 hours. Because I remember when we first started the ambulance service, and that's what we were doing. Like, I would go from station to station working on squads, and it'd be like, okay, well, we do 24 hours. And everybody's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to, because if we do 24 hours today, then we're going to be off it for 2 days, 3 days, whatever, before we have to be back on it. So everybody had that idea in their head. Well, what invariably happened was, okay, well, I did my 24 hours, and then, well, firefighter B, who was supposed to be on it today, well, he's off sick. And firefighter C, well, they're taking, a V day, or they've got somebody working for them. Well, I don't want to be the guy that, we're going to have a trade time guy on there and blah, blah, blah. So then I'm on the ambulance for another 24. And then, okay, well, now I'm supposed to be off it for 2 days. Well, firefighter B and firefighter C, they've got vacation scheduled, and we're hiring overtime. And then so you end up in this rabbit hole of being stuck there. And what was happening to guys, they were like, fuck it, I'm done. Like, this is enough's enough. I don't want to do this anymore.
I spent multiple shifts in a row, 24s.
Yeah.
Did it suck? Yeah. Did I make mistakes back then? Yeah.
But that's why we have the rule now that we have of nobody does more than 12. Yeah. And we have adjusted because we realized.
Except our single roles.
Yeah. Which. We're not talking about that. We're not getting we're trying not to be specific here, okay? But we found out that running the level of calls, and this is nationwide, right? Call volume has just exploded in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Of being on an ambulance for 24 hours. And then, now we need you to work overtime, or it's mandatory. And you're stuck. So now it's 48 hours. Doing that much time in a row on the ambulance, of whether you're the EMT or you're the paramedic, it is counterproductive, to say the least, for, number one, just your physical health, and number two, your mental health. Because you're going basically from call to call a lot of times. You're never back at the station. Like, I mean, I've worked at stations where that ambulance leaves at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we don't see them till dinner time. Mm-hmm. And then they're only coming back for shift change. Now, imagine if they don't have to come back for shift change.
Right.
Yeah. I remember going out of service just to get something to eat.
Yeah.
Or go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or change out of my blue jeans.
So over time, we learned that this crap is not okay. And we need to make changes. And, at the base level, a lot of guys made those changes before it ever came down. Of, okay, look, this is not working out, guys. We need to do something different for our station. we're going to do 12s or we're going to do 8s
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, whatever it may be.
I've seen guys doing the 6-12-6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually
That's
kind of
kind of
nice.
nice. I think it works in certain places. If you're attached to a pumper that doesn't run as much, I think it works. But if you're on a busy pumper company as well, it doesn't work as much.
I think basically there is no one answer.
There's not. It's
Whenever
whatever
it
works for
comes
your
to that,
station.
Right.
it's going to have to be tailored station to station
Yeah.
and even possibly even shift to shift.
Mhm.
Guys are going to do things differently because they have to figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
Jeremy, do you realize how literally everything you just said in regards to ambulances and staffing on one department, that same methodology could be used almost for leadership throughout all of public service and or mental health in public service?
That's why I said it.
God, you're fucking good.
I'm not as dumb as I look.
But with that being said, too, and this isn't actually directed at Chris, but just like, especially our top leaders in general, how often are we seeing that problem with the inability to adapt or the small minority of people adapting, but still making policies or whatever it may be on a status quo? It happened to me. I did it. It's how you learn. It's
So and to answer your question, and maybe you can answer this a little bit better than I can, but that's where we go back to talking about ego, of taking your ego out of it and looking at the big picture in general. You know, if you're just focused on your narrow little window, then you're not going to see everything. And being able to say, okay, just because I did this way for however long doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it. So let's get some more education, look at maybe departments around us or, you know, take a training seminar or whatever and find out what's working in other places and go, okay, all right, maybe this will work for us. Let's give it a shot.
you know,
And that's what you got to do.
and it's no different than Mark when he talked about his I-beam incident. He doesn't have to be rescue qualified. He
Right.
doesn't have to be the steel expert of the department. He just created an atmosphere to where everybody could do their jobs at the best of their ability and flourish and succeed.
Right.
It sets your people up for success. God, how
Yeah.
many times have I said that on this podcast?
And I want to leap off of that and add to it, not just let's figure out a way how we can structure the shifts on the ambulance to make it less distasteful.
Right.
We actually need to engender in our culture that the ambulance work is not a punishment. It's harder work many times. It's longer hours many times. I get that because, you know, my butt's been in those seats. So I get that piece of it. But it's a very important piece of what we do as first responders. And to me, those are some of my favorite days, the ones where I bounce from call to call to call. And it seems like, for me anyway, those are the days where I actually get sick patients and actually have the opportunity
To make a difference.
to make a difference in that, you know, one person's life at a time. And that's fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
And changing our culture to see the time spent on an ambulance not as a punishment, but as a piece of what keeps us relevant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is it like? It's over 80%.
Yeah.
85%.
Yeah.
85% of what
Yeah, it
we
used
do,
to be 70-something, and now it's 80-something.
Yeah, it's 80-something percent of what we do is EMS. And, you know, I had this conversation with the guys at the station, and we've got some younger guys there. And one of them he said something that really kind of stuck with me he goes, I have helped more people directly on this ambulance than I ever have on the fire truck.
I had the exact same conversation. I picked up overtime at one of the busy, ego-ridden Midtown stations, and it was I picked up the back half of the shift, and it was a winter night, so I grabbed a long-sleeve T-shirt out of my closet, and it said on the back, department name and EMS instead of saying fire. One of the captains saw that and said, "Hey man, I don't really like that t-shirt you have on." And I didn't even pay attention to what it said. It was department t-shirt. I just put it on. And he says, "Yeah, it says EMS. You're a fireman." Well, actually, I've saved more lives with my EMT license than I have had the opportunity with a fire hose. So if I've earned any t-shirt, it's this one. And I meant that.
Yeah.
And he, "All right, I got you. I see your point." And so he kind of backed off of that judgmental perspective of it didn't say fire, it said EMS.
Yeah. Well, and not wrong.
No.
Not wrong at all.
No.
And that's something that, as a culture, we got to kind of ingrain and engender
Right.
and all of that stuff.
Right.
Like, and bring that change about. Because, and we've talked about it, Moran, we've talked about it over and over again of, we get these new kids that come in and they get on the ambulance. And then you've got old salty vet sitting in the corner, the gator.
The gator.
And he's like, "Oh, you're on that fucking suck box. Oh, that sucks," and blah, blah, blah. How many times do you think it's going to take them listening to that before they get to feel the same way of, "Oh, man, this ambulance sucks," and blah, blah, blah? It's your job.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most important parts of your job. But
and
on the same tip, even though it is 85% of our job, going forward, doing the firefighting aspect of it, how do we get those younger people trained and up to speed on the fire side if they're spending half of their time on the ambulance?
That is an extreme challenge. And I know quite a few of our newer people that have that beef. Like, I do good on my job when I'm on the box. I ain't fought a fire yet. I've never followed my captain in on a hose line. I don't know what that's like. And we've got to get more people in the door. There's one piece of the answer.
Do we lower the standards to get those people in the door?
I sure hope not. I sure hope not. Because that's not doing anybody any favors.
Yeah.
No.
Memphis.
So, and then in the meantime, train.
Oh, you mean that's a 4-letter word?
I know. it
Is that thing we do where we log on the computer and watch a video?
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
I got a good story about that. I'll tell you guys after we stop recording. But yeah, and that's a big thing with me, even in my role of, okay, I go to
SAS officer.
Yes, the fun police is what I like to call it. I am in charge of no one and responsible for everyone, so therefore I am the fun police. But you go to fires, and I have the ability to see what everybody's doing because that's my job.
Yeah.
I got to pay attention to everybody and make sure, okay, dum-dum's not crawling up a ladder that's not butted or, whatever it may be. And to go back and go through all that stuff in my head and go, okay, so what do we need to train on as a district? Without calling anybody out or anything like that, but noticing those little deficiencies that maybe we could do this a little bit better. And not saying that I've seen anything that is like glaring of, we got to fix this now. But it's like, okay, well.
every once in a while those pop up.
Yeah. And so far they haven't.
Yeah.
But, I've been to several fires and, by and large, I got no complaints about how guys do stuff. Do I have some ideas about how maybe we could do stuff a little bit better, be a little bit more efficient? Absolutely. And we're going to address those.
Yeah.
But that's just part of trying to make the job a little bit better on the fire side.
Yep. Now, I would say we've got the luxury, the collective knowledge and experience across the job. We do really well at fighting fires, but we can't sit on that.
It's got to be passed on.
Yeah, it's got to be passed on, and we have to look for opportunities where we can still improve, make things better and more efficient and safer. And that also comes with changing the concept of what's in our culture.
Yeah.
Getting there the quickest is not always the best.
And Jeremy, you and I have talked about too, we're doing ourselves a disservice with not being honest what the job actually is. In our advertisements, in the media, or TV, sure, Hollywood sure as hell doesn't help us.
Right.
But we don't advertise what it is. We're not honest with people when they come on. Help people. Be a firefighter. Look cool. That's what we tell them.
Yeah. It's not very cool, is it?
Yeah, you're going to go pick up this fat 500-pound guy, and he's going to have piss jars.
And he's going to be high on PCP.
Yeah.
All around
and
his
he's going to
bed.
fight you.
Yep. And you're going to get pee on you.
Yeah.
You're going to get poop on you.
You're going to get every manner of body fluid on you at some point.
So wear your gloves, Moran.
There are plenty of calls where gloves don't even stop that. For those of us that actually do patient care, Jeremy, I know you're excluded from this. You'll learn that the glove stops here, and somehow it will always work its way up to here, whatever you get into.
He's not doing the medic thing right.
Yeah.
You got to delegate that, man.
Yeah. I have had poop on me one time and one time only. And I saw it coming, and there was nothing I could do to avoid it. And told the guy to keep his hands to himself, and what did he do? He reached up and grabbed me by the T-shirt, right around the neck.
Yep.
I got the poo on me.
I did not get any of it on my skin. I don't know how I got the shirt off my head without getting it on me, but I did not. No, I didn't cut it off. That's
Should have puked on him.
I was pretty close to not being a super nice guy, but
You almost pulled a Chris.
I almost pulled a Chris.
Almost.
Chris
Haven't we
about
heard
10.
more stories about Moran being an asshole to people
No,
on this show?
no.
I think we'll have to go back and start looking at things.
Oh, were you talking about the
Would.
personal accountability episode where I started taking accountability of myself? You should do one of those. It's really nice.
Yeah, I did that a long time ago. Sorry.
Prove it.
I just don't need the pat on the back.
Wow.
No, he's too busy patting his gut.
He can't reach. Just kidding, buddy.
I love it when the pots start talking.
I gotta say, I thought you would fire back a little bit better. I'm a little disappointed.
Nope. Taking the high road, man. It's tough.
He's being nice.
It's really tough.
I'm sure climbing those
You
stairs.
mean he was
hard.
listening?
Yeah, he might have been sleeping over there.
Oh, that's it.
I muted his mic again so he couldn't hear snoring.
Oh, all right. Well, Moran, you got anything else?
This is our final thought round.
This is going to be our final thought round. Unless you got something else you would like to, some conversation you'd like to kick off.
I don't know. I mean, I know we could sit here and just shoot the breeze all night long.
We definitely could.
We definitely could.
Probably get canceled or fired.
Or both.
Or both. Which I had that conversation earlier today with Josh Krasovec, came back on, former cop, and was talking about that. And I think I'm like Dave Chappelle. I don't think I can get canceled. And mostly, as opposed to Dave Chappelle, nobody knows who I am. So you can't cancel me because you don't know who the hell I am.
There you go. Perfect. Stay low. Fly under the radar.
Under the radar. But that's kind of counterproductive to the message we're trying to send out here. We want to be above the radar. We want everybody to know who we are.
And actually, Did have one more thought.
Okay.
So you asked me how many times to come be a guest.
Good God, at least 5 times.
At least.
Yeah.
And I finally did agree after saying, nah, that's really not. Because my mindset is always try to stay under the radar, stay out of the limelight. I don't want to be the spotlight of any sort of attention. But then I got to thinking about, by some weird quirk of this universe, I've been placed into a position that seems to have some influence on people. And the way I go about fulfilling that role in the servant leadership role, like you mentioned, James, seems to be effective. And I've had some people say, hey, I'm shaping my career because I've seen you do this, that, or the other thing. And so, well, I'm obviously not hidden. And if I can come on here and help share any of these ideas, that's what made me agree to come on here. So I can maybe help somebody as they're getting through something.
Awesome.
It's less about me and more about your objectives with these podcasts to reach out for healthy lifestyles and effective leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate that because that is the whole point. And we need more people, and not even necessarily to come on the podcast, but we need more people to be open and honest and vocal about that type of stuff. And it's like, you don't know the impact that you're going to have just having a conversation, being open about that kind of stuff. Because it might be you have this conversation today and 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know what you're going to say that's going to affect somebody or touch somebody in a way, and, we'll upload this podcast and it's going to do what it's going to do. And somebody from God knows where might see it and go, you know what? I like that idea. Or that speaks to me in some way that, it's keeping the ball rolling, keeping it moving.
The passing of the baton.
Exactly. And being just a small part of being able to help the culture and the job in general to get a little bit better. Because obviously we don't want to see more firefighters commit suicide.
Yeah.
We want to see firefighters that stay fit and healthy and mentally strong, spiritually strong, all that stuff going forward. Because, look, we spend a lot of time in these careers. We want to be able to walk out the other side and enjoy our retirement.
Yeah.
Enjoy the next phase of your life.
Being a papa.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd have stayed 300 plus, I wouldn't be very good.
You wouldn't be chasing them around very much.
No, not at all. I mean, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Mark, for my final thought, you took my point almost pretty well. This podcast, this episode has the opportunity to be your buggy. Just like you set and learned and took that style in and made it yours. If one person hears this and either A, adapts it, reads up on it more, or just has a conversation with you about it, how to develop it more, then it is successful.
I like that. My buggy here.
Changing the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Mark's Buggy.
Mark's buggy. I like that.
Is he going to start one then? Is that what we're hearing?
No.
Liar. You're going to see it in 2 weeks.
No, I'm spending my money on Jeep parts.
How many times have I heard that?
I've showed you pictures.
And I've said it.
It's all sitting there. He's got them.
I'm still waiting on the phone call of, hey, come help me put this part together.
When I get a tub and we need to lift and carry it to the frame.
Oh, that's all I'm good for.
That's
manual
manual
labor.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean,
fair.
I don't blame him.
That's fair.
I wouldn't let me work on my Jeep either.
Yeah, I've seen how you work on your Jeep.
Shut up. Final thoughts, Chris.
So many come to mind.
And you're going to say none of them probably.
No, I think it's
He's thinking
Just-
about what he's going to have dessert when he gets home.
damn right. Cherry cheesecake.
You got some? I'm coming over.
My wife, she's got it dialed in, man. But it's just, I think it's just about getting better. You're going to make mistakes.
Yep.
As you grow.
Yep.
You know, and people don't remember the good things and the way you've changed. They remember the bad things. And you can't focus on them. You got to focus on, okay, I made this mistake, but now I'm doing it this way. And I keep doing it this way. Even when it comes to the weight loss or whatever, you know, everything we talked about, it's all about moving forward and getting better. That's all it is. And even while you're getting better, you're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're going to stumble and fall. You're going to make the mistakes.
Yep.
But you just keep moving forward. And even when people don't see it, it doesn't matter because you know you've done it. You just keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's like that shirt that I got from the Till Valhalla project. It's, you know, you can crawl, you can walk, you can run, but always forward,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's easier to pick yourself up and move on when you not have the weight of ego burdening you down.
Yep. It's hard to get rid of. It's hard to swallow your pride.
It is. It is. And especially in this culture,
Mm-hmm.
in this job, it's ego can be huge.
Yeah. Once you learn how to do it, though, it gets easier to admit you fucked up.
Yeah.
Or you don't know an answer.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of, I know we're doing final thoughts, but we're just keeping on going here. That's part of leadership, though, is you're not going to have all the answers.
No.
So, but the important part is making a decision and then going wherever that decision takes you and then realizing, shit, this wasn't the right call. I'm going to make another one. It's making call after call after call and making decisions,
Yeah.
and being able to go and then having taken that ego out of it and going, all right, well, that wasn't a great decision. Let's pivot.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
going to do it this
be-
way. I'm going to try this way next time.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was with what Rand was asking or saying.
Yeah.
And he's 100% right. But I'm not that guy anymore.
I'll edit that out. So
No, you should leave it in. he needs to get credit for when he's right. It doesn't happen often.
to tie all that back to mental health, though, it's no different. Like, you know, you hear people talk about, you know, oh, well, I went to therapy this one time and it didn't work. Okay, great. Well, you did what? Talk therapy? Okay, fine. Try EMDR. You got to keep trying the things that are going to work. Like if Mark would have gave up after going to see 3 doctors who obviously had their head up their ass and never done any research.
Well, that also goes back to the cultural competency. Now, and it's more mental health, but even doctor-wise, from the medical side, you got to know where they're coming from.
Well,
We're going to show different stuff than a coal miner, and
Well,
you got to know that.
So, but my point with what I was saying was you have to be your own advocate. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
important part of it is not giving up. Just because this one treatment didn't work for you doesn't mean that the next one won't.
Yeah, you might have to go through 5 or 6 before you find what works.
Because and weight loss and being physically fit, that's not a lot different than your mental health. Because what works for him to lose weight might not work for you. It might not work for me to be fit. And the workouts that I do might not work for you. You're not going to get the same benefit because we're all individuals.
And there's going to be bad days, whether it's mental health improvement, physical health you're trying to improve. There's going to be bad days. I mean, when those Mayo doctors sent us back to KC without any answers, man, it ripped my guts out. I had probably inflated expectations, but I was eviscerated coming from there. I didn't stop.
Did you have bigger expectations because you thought some of the responsibility may be put off you? And there may be something else to explain it instead of just your own will and your own mental strength.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. When I went up to Mayo, we did know the cortisol was a problem. And they sent us up there after the pituitary surgery didn't change anything. I'm like, well, we don't know. Why don't we send you up to the experts? They know everything. That's literally how it got pitched. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, they'll figure this out. They said, plan on like a week and a half. We'll probably run a bunch of tests. And, nope, go home tomorrow. But I didn't stop.
Well, I think when you go somewhere like the Mayo Clinic, you're expecting the best of the best. And they're going to know what they're talking about. So, of course, your expectations are going to be high
Now,
for that.
I will say they were right, because my endocrinologist here in KC had put the diagnosis in Cushing syndrome. But the two doctors up there, like, yeah, I see your cortisol is elevated, but I don't see all of the rest of the laundry list that comes along with Cushing syndrome. Because you would present like this, and this, and you're not. So, yes, your cortisol is elevated. We just don't know what to call it or what to do about it.
Did they ever ask about your sleep schedule or do a sleep study, anything like that?
They did not. So,
See, and that's
So maybe they learn that lesson. Like, hey, maybe we should look at this avenue as well and add that into our testing.
yeah,
Because doctors are going to make mistakes. They're human. That's why it's practicing
medicine, yeah.
Because you're going to mess up. And you're like, okay, I learned. But again, it goes back to you keep moving forward.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that goes to being your own advocate and going to finding a doctor that knows that kind of stuff about, oh, well, you're a fireman. So this is what's happening with your body while you're not sleeping or while you're sleeping. This is, the stress levels, and these are the things that, affect you, and these are common problems. Because I can guarantee you 100%, you're not the only person that this is a problem for.
No.
Like any one of us, you could take us and do a blood test or a hormone test, and they're going to be jacked up.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's no different than the Bell study. Everybody knows about that.
Mm-hmm.
Where the bells go off and it makes your heart do this and it shortens your life by 10 minutes. Okay, great. That's fantastic. We know that now. So what does everybody do? They go to tones. Well, guess what the most recent study says? Still have the same problem.
See, I haven't noticed it with the tones in the stations I work that have them. I don't notice that jolt or my heart rate increase or anything like that.
So I've read several here recently that it takes a little bit, but then you start to associate that tone with what comes after.
All right.
So all those
Pavlov
levels.
and his dogs.
Exactly. So then it starts to go back up. So like whenever we were at that one station where we were at the second time together, right? So you remember in the bunk room, you could hear the printer go off for a call before the bells would ring.
Mm-hmm.
I was at home asleep on my couch. Rachel was in the office typing away, hit the printer button. I jumped off the couch and ran into the wall trying to get to the pumper because I was in my sleep. I was at work and like everything spiked from the sound of the printer.
I've gotten up and put my jeans on like my bunkers. Jane had to yell at me, hey, go back to bed because my phone went off or something.
Yeah.
So it's no different. You're going to get conditioned to those sounds and it's going to have the same internal effects.
Yep.
So now they're experimenting with no sound and just lights. And they think that's
not going to wake me up. I can tell you that right now.
See, lights wake me up. Bells, I'll sleep through them. But lights wake me up.
I sleep through lights. I won't sleep through bells.
I've slept through bells.
No,
and
I
lights.
have. Don't get me wrong, I have.
Yes.
I've had to be woken up.
We got to run.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine is if I don't take a nap, I'm more likely to sleep through a call. If I get a nap, I'm up. I'm good to go. Or if I'm not in an office where I had the issue while I was floating of one of the stations, the lights over the bed in the office, they don't come on. They come on the office side, but not the bed side. And I had an issue with that to the point where I started sleeping in the chair in the office side.
Mine was just, when you're on the ambulance and you're up, you can't fall asleep. You can't
Yep.
sleep through a call.
You know how many times I just slept in the chair in the cab of the ambulance?
Oh,
I just kicked my chair back and was like,
I have
I know I'm gonna run. I know I'm gonna be up again in 20 minutes.
I have
so why lay
gotten
down?
in trouble for that twice. One was at your old station, and one was at my old station. Like, just one of those days you get your dog shit kicked in, and sleeping in the thing, the ambulance computer goes off. I wake up, hit it, fall back asleep.
Oops.
EMT didn't wake up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I did it staging. It was wintertime. We had the heat blasting. We were staging on the apron, so we hit stage. Pumper was next to us. It'd been one of those days where we ran all day and we're running all night.
Yeah.
Fell asleep. I just hear Pumper so and so on scene. Kind of, look over, they're gone. We're sleep. Like, hey man, hey, we gotta go.
See, but that goes back to that point we
Yeah.
were talking about earlier of doing the 24 hours on the ambulance, or even to the point of running as much as some of these ambulances are running, even in a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
It's not feasible. It's not healthy. So we need to start maybe breaking it up a little bit.
Even our pumpers are starting to run that high volume.
And
And they might not be there as long on scene.
Waking
And
up
that's-
is still waking up.
You're still waking up. You're still
Yep.
putting your bunkers on.
Yep.
You're getting on the rig. You're going. Most time you're getting off, and then hey, we got this. We don't need you guys. Okay, cool. Get back on the bumper. Go back. Now you
Especially
have
if
to
it's
try.
cold, you get out and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm awake now.
Yeah. Or even in the summer, you're sweating,
yeah.
and that's not just us. It's
And
everybody.
the AC in the stations did never
Yeah.
cool you off very quickly.
Instant nipple hardness. Diamond cutters. Like, whoo! And your shirt's wet because you're sweating.
None of the new stations do that.
Well, Mark, thank you. Seriously.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it immensely.
Yes.
And you're welcome back anytime.
Right on.
So also,
We'll ask you 5 more times and we'll get you on for the 6th.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just send them 5 texts in a row.
Yeah.
That would probably be, instead of just once
Yeah.
every 6 months or so.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just all at once. Shotgun blast.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, when you get desperate and you scrape the bottom of the barrel, let me know.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. What are you doing at noon? No. All right, everybody. Yeah, Mark, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. This was great. Chris, thanks for making it. Appreciate it. Moran, thanks for stopping by once in every 6 months. That's fantastic
Hey, man,
to see you.
that's my plan. That's not his.
Yeah, I think you guys are on the same plan.
The cycle's linked up.
Yeah.
Ew.
Anyway, so yeah, everybody, thanks for stopping by. If you are struggling, reach out. There are resources out there. If you know somebody that's struggling, reach out. Let them know you care. Let them know the resources are out there. And then also, personal accountability. Like I've been saying, you got to take charge of not only your physical health, but your mental health as well. Be your own advocate. Do the things you need to do to get healthy. Do not wait on somebody to come save you.
Yep.
You got to do it on your own. You got to be the own wind in your sails. So, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.